All right, Cougars, we have spent a couple of weeks learning about crayfish. We learned about their structures, their parts. We learned about their behaviors. And we learned that both structures and behaviors help that animal adapt to its environment so that it is living the best life it can. Now we're going to turn our attention to birds. And we're going to start on this engineering packet. We're not going to do it yet, but we're going to start doing some preparation. And just like we talked about how crayfish have all these parts, birds have lots of different parts. But we're going to focus in on the beak of the bird and how different types of beaks are adapted for different types of food. And to show you this, we're going to play a little game. Before we start our experiment, I want you to get out your science notebook, and the title is Bird Beaks and Beans. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a little chart. You're going to have the beak type, and we're going to have 4 different types: the knife, the fork, and I indicated that it was broken, the toothpick, and the spoon. And then over here, the number of beans that we're able to pick up each time. Now, you're going to have several numbers because several people in your class will be doing this all together. All right, so now let's do the test and find out how many beans I can pick up. Today, we are going to pretend that we are a bird and that we are eating some food. And the food that we're going to eat are these dried beans. I have pinto beans, but you could have any kind of beans. You could have black beans, you could have lima beans. If necessary, you could even have rice. And what we're going to do is that we're going to pretend that we're going to be eating these beans with our beak. And we're going to have different shaped beaks. And these different shaped beaks are going to be able to eat in different ways. So these are the beak shapes. A spoon shape. A fork, but you notice 2 of the tines are missing. A knife. And a toothpick. And the goal is that you're going to be given 30 seconds and you have to pick up the beans with your beak and you need to place them into a bowl. And that bowl represents the stomach, right? You're eating this food. Now, there's a couple of rules. You only get to use one hand, so the other hand goes behind your back. And you have 30 seconds to do it. So I'm going to show you what I mean, and then we're going to do it together. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. You can either have the beak type in your right or left hand, it doesn't matter. But the other hand has to go behind your back. You need to pick up the beans and put them in the bowl. There's no scooping and flinging. You have to pick them up and transport them to the bowl. And you will have 30 seconds to do that, okay? So, we're gonna start with the knife. So make sure you have the knife in your hand. And ready, begin. Ten more seconds. 5 seconds. And stop. Okay, so stop. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to, all the beans that fell out on the table, you have to put back on the tray, on the plate. And now you're going to dump out the beans that you were able to collect in the bowl, and you're going to count them. Okay, so The first time I did it with the knife, I was able to pick up 172 beans. That's pretty good. If you have more than one person in your class who did the knife, make sure to record all of your information. The next one that we're going to test is the broken fork. So in just a minute, you're going to have 30 seconds to pick up as many beans as possible. Remember, one hand behind your back, and you can't fling, you have to pick it up and move it into the bowl. And begin. Okay, we have 15 seconds left. 10 seconds left. 5 seconds. And stop. Okay, so clean up the beans that you spilled, and now count the beans that are in the bowl. I was able to pick up 67 beans with the broken fork. The next one is going to be the toothpick. You have the toothpick, and now you're going to have 30 seconds to put as many beans into the bowl. Remember, one hand behind your back, no flinging. Okay, let's go. Oh. Mmm. 10 seconds left. 5 seconds. And stop. I didn't get any beans. Did you guys get any beans? Let's record our information. So the toothpick had 0 beans. The last bird beak is the spoon. So I'm going to put one hand behind my back, and we're going to give you 30 seconds to pick up the beans. And go! You have 15 seconds. 5 seconds. And stop. Any beans that are on the tray or table, put back in the bowl on the plate, and let's count them. Now, there's a lot of beans here. You might want to organize them in groups of 10. I made little groups of 10 all over my desk, and I have 223 beans. So this is my information or my data from my experiment. You guys are going to have more columns, right? But probably it should be, in general, the same. The type of beak that could get the most food was the spoon. The spoon was able to get a lot of food. For me, the next beak that got a lot of food was the knife. The broken fork was the third, and the toothpick came in absolutely last. So why does this matter? Well, imagine that you are a bird and you live on an island, and the only type of food available are beans. If you have a toothpick typed beak, are you going to live very long? Probably not. And as a result, if you can't live, if you're not going to be healthy, you probably are not going to have lots of babies. You're not going to lay lots of eggs. You're not going to have lots of young. However, if you are a bird that has a spoon-shaped beak and you live someplace where there's dried beans as the food, you are going to be very healthy. And you're going to have lots of babies. You're going to lay lots of eggs, and your babies are going to be healthy because they have a lot of food that they can eat. Now, let's take a look at a different type of food. Okay, we have a new type of food, popcorn. So let's make another page in our science notebook, and it says bird beaks and popcorn. Beak type, knife, fork, toothpick, and spoon. And I'm gonna have to do this one on my own because you guys don't have popcorn at school. If you have it at home, you can join along. Okay, so the first one is the knife. I'm gonna have 30 seconds to put as many popcorn kernels into the bowl as possible. Okay, go. 2 seconds and stop. Okay, I can count how many there are in the bowl. 10. Okay, now we're going to do the broken fork. 5 seconds and stop. Okay, I'm gonna count my popcorn. The broken fork picked up 31 pieces of popcorn. Now the toothpick. Begin. And stop. The toothpick got 12 pieces of popcorn. Now, time for the spoon. 5 seconds. And stop. And the spoon got 36 pieces of popcorn. Now, let's look at our information from our 2 different types of food. When you look at an environment where there's food like popcorn, now all of the birds are able to get enough food to survive. Yes, the spoonbeak bird still is able to eat a little bit more than all the other birds. But here, the toothpick bird is able to eat enough to survive. When we looked at the beans, there were 2 types of a beak that did really well. Those 2 birds, the knife beak bird and the spoon beak bird, were going to be very healthy. They're going to be able to eat all of the food. And that would mean that the fork beak bird and the toothpick beak bird would die out. They wouldn't be able to compete with these other animals. In this particular environment, the beaks and the beans, the birds that are adapted to eat the food that's there are the ones that will survive. I hope you guys had fun playing that bird beak game today. Next week, we're gonna look at some real birds and some real beaks, and we're gonna connect what the birds eat with their beak, because we're going to be designing a bird beak as our engineering project. See you next time, Cougars!